Hi, I'm Samira. In my newsletter, XArt Studio Stories, which explores the intersection of art and extended reality, I focus on XArt news and projects made in Canada and around the world. In this episode, I spoke with Justin, co-founder and CTO of Artgate VR in Toronto, Canada. Artgate VR is a leading virtual reality platform that changes how we experience and engage with art. This platform offers virtual galleries where users can meet other art fans and galleries can attract visitors to their website. In our conversation, we discussed the projects, the challenges they face, and what the future holds for the platform. Let's dive in. Hey, hi Justin. Let's start with you and the idea of the Artgate VR. You seem to have a technical background, and your co-founder has a art background. What made you interested in creating art project in VR? Like, how did you start? What was the first steps?
Yeah, so I've been in tech and entertainment space for over 15 years. I used to have an artist management company where we would do these underground shows where we'd pair DJs with artists to do these really cool art shows. And that's where I met my co founder, Brendan. We worked together for many years and then kind of went separate ways. He got really deep into the fine art world, got represented by a large gallery, was traveling all over exhibiting. And one day he came to me and he's like, I have a problem. I have this giant sculpture of a big blue potato chip that I got to ship to Italy to exhibit. There's so much, there's insurance, there's logistics, there's packaging, and it's going to cost a lot of money. And he's like, I might sell it, I might not. I'm taking a huge risk here. What do you have? Do you have any ideas? And so I had just kind of come off moving away from the music industry, but I did a lot of work in virtual reality, got a patent for VR tech with audio isolation stuff. And I was like, here's a VR headset. I put in your sculpture into a room. You can get a full 360 view of it. People can go walk around. Take it to Italy and see what happens. And so he did that. Great success, a lot of interest. He ended up eventually selling the sculpture and came back really excited. And he's like, Justin, this is great. We need to start a company around this. And it's kind of evolved from there. Turned into a lot of our friends coming out and going, hey, I want to have my stuff in VR. And we had a lot of artist friends and tapped into the artist community. And then we started to get recognition globally. We started building up our social media following and things like that. And there are people from China, people from LA, people from all Mexico, like all over, were wanting to create virtual gallery spaces and then run their own events. So that's all started with VR, and then we kind of evolved it to make it more accessible as well, with having it available on the computers and soon to be on mobile actually as well. First, it was just we were building galleries from scratch for people using Unity game engine. And we were just building it out. Here's a sample. We'd give people to get a headset, and then we'd load it on the headset for them, and then they can go around and show it off. And then I got really busy. We had developers helping us out. They were really busy. So we focused on more building a platform where you can upload it. You have a content management system, and you could build your own gallery and curate it from our own system. So it's a lot of hands off from our perspective.
Oh, okay, interesting. So it was like 2018, I'm guessing, right? So it was like a prototype, and then when it became like a platform.
Mhm. Yeah, I can't remember exactly the date. Maybe it's been like 6 months of us working on it when we were starting to get really busy, and all of our friends were like, I want a space, I want a space. And it's like we had a big list of people wanting their own spaces. That's when it started to shape into a platform. And then once we kind of got it so you can create your own gallery space with the CMS, and we focused on getting the social interactions built into it. That's when we evolved from there, built out avatars. Like the very first setup of us having social, you were just a cube, like moving around in the space, but you had like voice interaction and you can move around and really connect with people, which was really fun and exciting. And then we started using Meta, had their built-in avatar system, which was nicer. You had a lot more like expressive avatars. Still weren't legs yet, but they were interesting avatars, but they were very performance heavy. So we had a lot of issues with on the VR headsets. So actually, that's why we switched to our own avatars. And so with that, it was like a balance of I wanted to have it so people don't like let the art shine, don't let the avatars and the whole social side kind of stand out. So that's why we've kind of kept it. They're very like, you have this like almost crystallized head, crystallized hands, and you can only choose what color you are. Every color of the rainbow kind of thing.
Interesting. So, how did you actually try to collaborate with other galleries, curators, and the artists? Like, what was the main platform that you could reach out to people and say, okay, come
So
here?
yeah, it kind of was a bit of like getting involved in the Toronto art scene, going out to events, and we like Brendan and I would literally bring headsets to like art shows and events, and people would be like, "What's that thing you got?" And we'd be like, "Here, put it on your head." Like we went to Beeple's first show in Toronto, and I brought the headset. We set him up with a space, and he's like, "This is really cool," and he gave me a thumb drive. He's like, "Do whatever you want with this. I like it's all cool." This was before he made his big monies and did the big auction, so it was really exciting. From there, it was we were meeting curators, we were meeting different people that wanted to do their own exhibitions, and so we worked with them, got them to set up and run their own events through our platform.
Two features are kind of rare in the art galleries that at least I've experienced so far. One of them is the social aspect. Rarely we have such experiences, and the other one is the market. For the social aspect, what do you think? Like, how did you come up with this idea exactly, and why was it important for you to do it?
Yeah, so the social side was driven by when we were going to events. So we're going to events, bringing out our headsets, and people were like, "Wow, this is really cool." But we realized that at the events, everyone was like, they were more focused on meeting people, talking. They were popping out of the headset. So we had always had the vision around like creating the art fair for everyone kind of thing. So Art Miami, Art Basel, Freeze Art Fair, we wanted to take that whole experience and put it into a virtual space so you can do it from home. So like Brendan, before we started Artgate, was going to all these art fairs, spending so much time, so much money. Also, it's just not sustainable traveling around, flying to all these different places, jet setting through all over the world. So the idea was to kind of reduce a lot of that overhead, and having that social is such an important part of the art show. It's being able to experience art with other people and talk about it and share opinions and have the right conversations about the artwork. So we were always keen on having that as a main focus on the platform. And then once we kind of implemented it, we started to realize there's like a certain magic once to the social side where you're in there, and if you're in there by yourself, you kind of feel it's quiet. You feel kind of awkward. You're just like you don't know what's happening outside the headset. But when you're in Artgate and you have someone else there and you're having conversations and you're interacting with them, there's a psychology part to it where your brain forgets that you're in this virtual world and you feel more like you're actually in the world. You're not just like there's nothing else happening around you and you forget about everything that's happening around you. So as long as you're not punching a wall or anything, you're in pretty good shape that you're going to have a fully immersive experience once the social happens. And I always tell this story when we very first time we got the like social interactions implemented into Artgate. A friend of mine, Leo Krukowski, he's an amazing sculptor, an artist. He was one of the first in Artgate, and I was showing him his space because I had just gotten the social set up, and he was on the other side of Toronto. And I was like, dude, this is really cool. You're going to come meet me, give him a call. He's like, yep, I'll hop in. And we're both just cubes, but we were having conversations, and he was walking around showing me his artwork and talking to me about it. And I was like, this is magic. And I completely forgot that we were in this virtual space. Like I had to take off my headset and go, oh yeah, right. This is reality, not the virtual side. So the whole psychological side that it has an effect on you is very powerful. And now, like if you went and talked to any of our customers or anybody who's like involved in our community, they'll all say the best part is the community and being able to go out and connect with people and having this immersive experience with artwork. And it's people from all around the world.
I assume having the social feature is kind of an expensive feature for such project.
Mhm.
Was it like a business idea to make money out of the project, or no, it was just something that you thought should be there?
Yeah, I mean, so the social part just was needed to be there. Like we don't charge extra for the social. That's just part of what it is. And it's a big feature in Artgate. Yeah, it took it from like 0 to 1 or 0 to 100 once we kind of implemented that social thing, because it's easy to just, especially now that we've got it on the browser and we're going to have it on mobile soon. All I got to do is send you a link, and then you hop in and we can connect in a virtual space and look around the artwork and see it in a whole new way. And it's just way better that way. It also helps the gallerists and exhibitors sell the artwork better, because when you have a personal conversation versus we're emailing back and forth or on a chat or like a Zoom looking at flat images, it's not as immersive and you don't feel as engaged. Where in Artgate, it's like, hey, it's you and me. We get this intimate connection. Sometimes like the actual artists will come out and connect with the collectors, and that's like a whole new experience where like other people, if they're buying art from the other side of the world, you may not even get to know the artist or get any experience with the artist other than I like their work, I'm buying it, and I at the gallery sending me images and pictures, and we're having email back and forth to facilitate the sale, where it's a lot more personal and accessible for everyone from that perspective.
What about the market part of the project, like the selling and buying? I saw that you have the option. I couldn't actually do it, but
Yeah,
option is available. That's a good thing. I've never seen in other projects. You can exchange from the physical to the virtual kind of thing as well. So how is the market idea?
we when we first launched Artgate, we were facilitating the transactions. So you can go into the platform. We had like a little booth at the front of the galleries, and then you would go and you'd click on it. It would pop up the artworks, and you could like go pay. But we realized like if you're in VR, it's a lot harder to run the transaction in VR, because you got to take off your headset, look at your credit card, and then try and enter it, and it's just like a painful experience. So we actually shifted away from handling the transactions because everyone just ended up running it outside of the platform. But what we did realize is that we could give them an opportunity to drive leads to their website through our platform. So when they run events, there's these info cards on all of the artworks, and you can click on the info card and it'll pop up full details about the artwork that you're looking at. And then you could actually link out to the website, whatever the gallery uses to make the online transactions happen. Or if it's just set up a meeting, whatever it is, they kind of choose however they want to do that. Artgate's sort of like an advertising platform for arts, but also in a new immersive and engaging experience for buyer collectors. The other thing is it's stepping stones to actual building up your own gallery. So one of the galleries that we have in Artgate is called Floating Point Gallery, and Candace, she's been with us since the beginning. She's also a part shareholder of Artgate, but she started a gallery in Artgate and then started to build up momentum, build up a reputation, build up some revenue for her company, getting grants and different ways to just build up her gallery in a virtual space with like minimal overhead costs versus a brick and mortar space at starts. That led her to exhibit at Art Toronto, where she had like a larger audience. She had VR headsets still at Art Toronto, and people would be able to come, sit down, put on the VR headsets, and experience the art, which was really cool and exciting because there's not that much, and people are like, oh, what's this? I want to try it out. So it helped her in that way. And then she ended up selling artworks to like a museum, which really like skyrocketed her art gallery forward. Now she's got this art gallery that she started from nothing to selling artworks to museums, which is a big accomplishment in the art world. I wouldn't call Artgate a market. I think it's a tool for facilitating your sales process and engaging with collectors in a new way.
Okay, interesting. So you don't want to like make money out of this part, like how the business plan is working here in the art project. I think.
Because we are a platform that was started by an artist, we really wanted to keep that in mind, that the artists have so many people with their hands in their pockets going, hey, I want half of this artwork. I get a piece of this. I get a piece of this. And it's like, there's a lot that they have to deal with, and it cuts down on their margins as artists, where like, okay, I build a sculpture, let's say it's worth, I don't know, we'll say $500,000. Half of that's going to go to the gallery once it's sold. The other 20% is production costs. There's costs in shipping. There's all these other costs. And a lot of the times, like the galleries don't help out with stuff like that. They're just taking that 50% commission on everything. So the artists are left with not much left. Now, if we create our platform and galleries are buying into it, that's not coming out of the artist's pocket. That's coming out of the gallery's pocket. But it's a tool for the galleries to make their sales and drive more value for the galleries in that sense. So we did it first. We were doing like 10% for a transaction when we had it built in, but we realized, one, we were taking away from the artists. Two, it was just a pain to make a transaction in VR. And three, just from our perspective, there's legal side of it. There's all this, so many hoops to jump through to get it to happen. And we were like, we can find other ways to monetize the platform from there.
Yeah, okay. So how did you fund in general the project? Like, did you apply for any funding in Canada or no, just personal funding?
Yeah. So when we first started, we did a friends and family raise and raised some money in the beginning, built up some cash to just kind of get started. And it was kind of just money so Brendan and I could keep our heads down and keep working. We always said it was ramen profitable is the term and what we were going after, because we were literally just eating ramen and in the small condos and like figuring out what this platform was going to be. We did a lot of chasing VCs and private equity opportunities and investors to try and raise money for the platform. But we started to see that we were just doing well on our own, and bootstrapping the company was a big move for us. We did get grants from the government. So there's the SHRED grant, it's called, and you get a good chunk of your technology investment back from the government when you do that. We got support from Meta. So they were giving us free stuff. They were flying us out to California to for education, and we were talking about our product and educating them as well. They did give us some money and some opportunities there. And then we got a lot of support from YSpace. So this was an accelerator program that we were in through York University. And that was a lot about how to build a sustainable business. And they had tons of resources that helped us kind of get things going as well. It's a lot of the money's just been through the platform and what we're doing.
So how was the kind of collaboration with the Meta that you were talking? Did they reach out or you reach out? How did you do it?
Yeah, they had a program. So they originally had the START program, the Oculus START program. And this was even might have been before even Meta acquired it. No, it was after Meta acquired Oculus. But they had the START program. So we applied and they were like, yep, you're cool. We like it. Come on in. So that was the first part, and that's where they were sending us free headsets and a bunch of stuff, giving us lots of resources, tying us into a community of other developers and really supporting us that way. And then there was another program that was kind of like the graduation of the START program, which was called the Launchpad program. And that one was a lot more involved. That's where they were flying us out to do a few days of education and pitch our platform and just build a community around the developers that are around and working in VR.
Very interesting. So you had an international art exhibition in 21. How did you come up with this idea? How was it?
Yeah, so we have a board of directors at Artgate, and one of the board members and advisors, his name's Rob Tyree. His company's Ironstone Advisory. He gave us the idea of event-based marketing. So everything we do is focused on driving towards this event. And it was an opportunity. Once we kind of set that in place, hey, we're going to do Artgate International once a year and everything's going to funnel into that. So everything we do is focusing on driving to Artgate International. And we noticed once we were doing that, it was there was an instant vision of where the company was headed. And it was a clear path to what we were doing once we had these events in place, which was really helpful in us going, okay, it was all our social media made sense. That was happening around the company, the operations, who we were hiring, what kind of resources we needed. It all was tied into these events, which made a lot of sense along the way. So that's kind of how that happened there. And it just helped our customers to have something to look forward to. Yeah, that's kind of where that worked. This year was actually the first year we did Arcade International, and we did it a little differently. So previous years, it was everybody had their own gallery that would be like built out of the content management system. But this year I wanted to push the boundaries of how Artgate, what we could do with Artgate, and do like really cool exhibitions and stuff like that. So we actually went back to more of a traditional art fair where everybody had booths. And this allowed for the programming to overlap with different booths, and different people could bring out their audiences, and everybody could connect on a more larger scale, because it was like you got one gallery bringing out their audience, you got another gallery bringing out their audience, and then they'd crisscross audiences and share, and everybody connected from there. And it was a lot more engaging for all the gallery owners and exhibitors, which was great.
No, very interesting. So you had the art fair like after 21 as well, right?
Yeah, so we've
Okay.
had, after 2021 we did Arcade International every year, and then we didn't ended it eventually, but we did 2 years where we did the Meta Biennale, which was the Biennale that we were running in, we call it the Metaverse version there. Yeah, they were really good. It was great to connect with people, and that was like, it just helps drive revenue for the company. It helped drive value for our customers because there was people coming out. They got to do their like talks. There was a lot of extra programming, a lot of marketing for them, and it just built up excitement about everything in the community and what we do in Arcade.
Okay, interesting. A few months ago, I wanted for my paper do analysis on your project as well as other projects, and for some reason it didn't work on the Meta. Recently, I saw that it's working. So I assumed before like it was like yeah, but it seems it wasn't, and you were quite active, but it wasn't obvious for you.
Yeah, so they happened, but we might have not just had content that we did for those times. We did have a marketing company that we hired to help us promote Artgate a lot early on, and that's probably why there was a big influx of content happening on social media and everything. Now we've scaled back a bit over the past couple of years. Just the pandemic happened, there was lots going on, and we're just trying to recover from that. But going into next year, we're going to see another influx of events and content that we're working on, trying to pull in sponsors for the first time ever and drive more audience into Artgate and build up the community more. Working with bigger artists that are more influence, like digital influencers and things like that, to help get more people coming into the platform.
So speaking of the pandemic, do you think that the COVID situation helped your business growing, like more people coming to the art gallery in VR, or no? Because you started before COVID, so I think you have some idea of like what was before and then after.
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting. The pandemic, there was like two groups of people that we would talk to. There was people that were like, yes, this is amazing what you guys are doing. I think this is perfect for us. Like, I'm stuck inside, I got nothing else to do. Why don't I hop in and like do what I would normally do in the real world, but in a virtual space? And they loved it. And it was the younger generation, most cases. They were like, yeah, I get it. Cool. This is great. But then there was the other side of the coin where people were like, oh no, I'm just going to try and figure out how I do what I did the old way over and over again. And like, that's why the entire art market like was hit so hard during the pandemic. And so everyone was just living in fear, where from our perspective, it was where we don't need to be fear. You don't need to be worried. You can do everything you were doing outside of the art or like in real life in this virtual space. And we can help you facilitate that. There was people that did really well with Artgate, and they had great events. They were doing tons of programming, and they were selling artwork through our platform, which is what I guess the ultimate goal is for the gallerists and a lot of the exhibitions. So that just led to us getting more value too. So we were getting a lot more customers coming in, a lot more people doing events and signing up for more space in our platform.
Okay. So you kind of mentioned how people perceive the art and VR together. So what do you think of XR and art in general? How do you define it? Do you think that there's going to be a future for this field, or no, just kind of trend, and in the future people may not want to be involved in that field that much?
Yeah, it's definitely not a trend. I mean, it takes a long time. I digital arts didn't really have credibility up until now. I learned Photoshop when I was like 8 years old. So it was like, I've been doing digital art for many years. It's almost 30 years ago. So there's a lot of that needs to happen, and there's a whole lot of shift. The art world moves slow, slow, slow. So it's going to take time for people to get more and more comfortable with the XR side and figure out, okay, how do I, like, if I created a augmented reality art piece, like, how am I supposed to monetize this? How am I supposed to get it to a collector? Or how am I supposed to build an event around it to get people coming? And there's a lot of learning, and it's going to be a long time. We've always said it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and it's going to be. I don't have a time machine, but it takes time for that to happen. But I mean, we're every day we're seeing more and more people are like doing 3D scans of their sculpture and looking for ways to exhibit those 3D scans, or they're like investing in new digital websites that have like 3D views. So it's baby steps that people are taking, and we're constantly seeing growth. It's just like not exponential growth. I mean, if you look at cell phones, where they were in the timeline of growth, we're still looking at brick phones. Like, here's my headset, I'm strapping a toaster to my face, like this big clunky thing. It's not comfortable, it's not ideal, but that's the point in time that we were at. We're seeing now that the headsets are getting smaller. Meta's got these great new glasses they just announced, the Orion glasses. They're getting lighter, they're more comfortable. The Apple Vision Pro has like amazing UX and like interaction built into it. So the comfort, the form factor, the usability of these devices are getting better. And as that happens, people are going to be more and more comfortable with it. Additionally, there's a younger generation that have grown up with VR headsets now. They've always had headsets in their house. I got a 1-year-old nephew. I make sure he gets a headset when he's old enough to use it, but I want to make sure he's well aware and comfortable with it. And that's the same with how, like, if you look at cell phones, like I give a cell phone to my dad and he's like trying to see the buttons and doesn't know how to use it. Where I'm like, yep, no problem. Like, I can use it because I've had this cell phone my whole life. I mean, I haven't even had a cell phone my whole life, but there's a generation that's had cell phones their whole lives, and that's more comfortable for them. Now, VR is the next generation that people will start to become more comfortable with.
What do you think two main challenges that the XR and art industry in general kind of struggling with to grow?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, the two things that are challenging is getting people more comfortable with it. So having a more comfortable device, having it more accessible, more easy, like better user experience. But just I think the user experience with it, if you spend the time in getting into it, it's not that hard. It's really easy to use the devices, and they're really not that uncomfortable either. But it's people aren't used to it, and general population doesn't like change. They're not easy to hop into it. People like me, I'm crazy, and I'm like, yes, I think this is the coolest thing ever, and you can strap me to the wall and do whatever you want, as long as I get this really cool experience with the technology. Where there's other people that are like, I don't like it, I don't understand it, I don't feel good in it, and that's fine too. Then I think it's just a psychological and a social shift that's going to happen starting with a younger generation. And then from the art world, I mean, real estate's getting more expensive. It's ridiculous how much work it is to be like an international recognized artist. There's so many costs. There's so many people with their hands out when trying to take money from artists and devaluing the art. There's so many different platforms out there now. Like, everyone's got their Instagram, they got to keep up to date, they got to do all this stuff, and it's a lot of work to be an artist and just like create stuff. And society, like, even with inflation and costs of living, everything's really expensive to even be an artist. So it's getting harder and harder. So I think that's a big problem with the arts, and it needs to be disrupted one way or another. And that's part of the reason why we started ArtGate.
Okay. So what are your plans for the future of ArtGate VR?
Yeah, so for the future, our plans we're really shifting focus into making it more of an educational platform for universities with the side of exhibitions and events and stuff like that. But we're getting the next generation of students comfortable with the tools that we've built for them to create their own exhibitions. We work with York University. They have a virtual curation program where the students will literally curate their own exhibitions in our platform. And we're hoping to expand that across all other universities in Canada and then head down south to the US and eventually around the world there, with having a focus on educating students on like there's more opportunities, and that's a big part of like solving the problem with the XR is like students are more comfortable with it, everyone understands it more, it's less scary for them, so that's part of it. Additionally, we want to engage with more exhibitions, make it the platform more exciting. So like with our templated system, it's over and over again, you're looking at the same gallery space, you're got very similar experience in it, and we want to make it more flexible and more exciting. You can have different room sizes, different room shapes. You can, if you wanted, you can create a gallery on the moon. I'm not sure like where that would go, but making it so exhibiting is and the platform's more entertaining and allowing curators to come in and really amplify the experience within the platform. And then like we're looking at like integrating AI and having like AI art gallery tours and like gallery attendants and salespeople, and having that implemented as tools for people to start exhibiting more and have people to have a virtual gallery that almost manages itself. And because ultimately there's education, entertainment, and commerce as parts of the art world, and we want to be involved in all of those.
That's great. That's great plan. So before the end of the interview, do you have anything to mention or something that I may not ask?
Nothing I can really think of. I just want to like we've been at this for a long time, obviously since 2018, and we've seen lots of ups and downs along the way. I hope people that are watching this, they're probably into XR or like wondering about it and wondering how things are going to change. And I just want to say like we're doing everything we can to make it as comfortable for people, but it's magic. Like you go in, you got people from China or like Africa, and you go and you all connect and you connect over artwork, and it's such a beautiful experience for everyone, and it's next level, and you get to do it from your home. Like you can wear pajamas, you can come in whatever, nobody knows you're wearing pajamas. We always joke, put a straw in your glass of wine when you come to the event because you're gonna spill on yourself because you got the headset in the way. I think people would just take the risk and try things out, and you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Thank you.